to the Star Wars Brothers podcast. I'm Cliff Boyd, and I'm here with John Boyd.
Hey.
And Drew Shepard.
Waka waka.
Waka waka. It's a Muppet thing.
Fozzie Bear, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Cool.
Yoda's
What made you think of the Muppets?
So.
It's true. Hey, there's the connection.
I went with Frank Oz right there. So
yeah, cool. I wonder if Yoda and Fozzie have ever interacted in any official capacity.
I think Fozzie could probably turn Yoda to the dark side pretty quickly.
Banana cream pie. Like, let me just kill thee now.
Force lightning. Just
Yoda can do any of the dark side powers. He just chooses not to. So,
absolutely.
Like, just on a whim, he could flip to the dark side and be the most powerful Sith on the planet, but he chooses not to do so. So
that is actually, a theory, right? I mean, you know that, right?
No, what?
Yeah, what you just described is literally a theory. I watched a video on it it's been probably 2 or 3 months now, but how Yoda, if he turned to the dark side, would be the strongest dark, individual.
Sure.
Even Palpatine would feared that. So, I watched a little video and it was pretty cool.
Well, it's like on the light side, you can get to like level 9 in power, but if you want to get to level 10, you've got to go dark. Like to make that extra step, you have to go dark. And that's why you don't need as many Sith, right? That's why you only need a handful, because they can take Jedi. Sith are in general, I think, more powerful than Jedi, because they accept the dark powers. Who knows? Maybe that's not true. Well, that's my impression.
And it's like in some video games, like we've talked about before, like if you really want to have fun, you got to be bad.
Yeah.
And same with Sith. Like if you really want the cool powers.
Right. Skyrim is much, much more boring if you're not evil.
Oh,
because like most of the plots on all their side quests have you either making an evil choice or just not participating. All those Daedric artifacts, John, there's like 15 of those really involved quests for like the 15 most powerful things in the game. And you're doing things from like cannibalism to just cold-blooded murder to
framing people.
It's the worst stuff, because you're doing it in service of these demons to get their powerful swords and whatever else is. Anyway.
Yeah, Sith have cooler weapons and powers and all sorts of stuff.
Absolutely.
I'd probably be part of the dark side. Let's be honest.
No, I wouldn't. I'd be light side. I'd be light side for sure. I think I would die quick though. I don't think I'd ever get to a very high level of power. I'd do the minimum that I needed to be like accepted as a Jedi, and like that'd be enough for me.
like lift rocks.
I'm a Jedi, trick. But I'm like the oldest low-level Jedi.
You're like the librarian.
Everybody else has moved on. Right.
You're like the librarian Jedi. Like, oh, there's Cliff. Yep.
Right.
He keeps the books.
That's right. Yeah. No, I don't think I'd be the librarian. I think I'd be active. I think everybody would just be annoyed that I'm not in the librarian role. Or something, much less important. So, Drew, what do you think? Are you light side or dark side?
Oh, I'm light side. Yeah. I don't know. I don't have the heart to be too bad. I rescue fish and puppies. Like I could.
Right. Yeah.
Or why choose? Right? Isn't there some kind of like?
There's a gray Jedi.
That isn't either.
Sure.
I mean, it's the best of both worlds. Like you can not be a terrible person and still maybe use Force lightning. I don't know.
Oh yeah, maybe. I'm not sure. We haven't seen.
I have a little more situational ethics as a gray Jedi.
Right.
So.
A gray Jedi. Gray Jedis are just theoretical right now, though, right? We haven't had any official, at least in the new canon. If my understanding is there.
I don't know.
I guess you could maybe say the whole Jedi Order is a little bit gray based on what's going on in this series, right? Even in these episodes, I think we're going to see some things from them. The episodes we're about to talk about. John, I thought my first thought when Drew was like, "Yeah, I save fish and puppies," I thought, and John slaughters chickens in front of his kids. So
yeah, right.
But I also shoot deer, so I mean, it's a funny line.
Yeah.
It's a funny line.
That's true, but you do that in service to your wife. Let's be honest.
Correct.
That's not really
in service to.
That's a choice that's been made to you.
Just don't murder the younglings, and we're okay.
That's right. John, I think we could have a pretty cool Star Wars plot if I were like the lazy light side and you were the dark side, and we're brothers.
I think so.
And then Drew has to like come in and work with me because I'm so lazy and my powers are just not that great. So it's like me and Drew versus John. So we've got the brother thing going, but really it's just Drew versus John, and I keep getting in the way. So.
Like whenever a big battle goes down, at the end of it, they're like, "Did anybody see Cliff do anything?"
Yeah.
I'm here. I'm here.
Yeah, I did something over here. I killed somebody. At some point we're going to need to do an episode when we want to take a break from Clone Wars or when we don't have time to watch it or whatever. We're going to need to do similar to how we did with the movies. We need to do a pitch for a TV series because we just had all those announcements for these new Disney Plus TV series and all these movies that are coming out. And Drew, did you watch all that? Did you see all?
I did, but I did not look into it too much because I know that I am pretty sure that somewhere in Clone Wars, the Bad Batch, spinoff or not spinoff, but series that they will come into play. And so I don't think I know what that is yet. We haven't gotten there, I don't believe yet. So I'm trying not to dig in too much, really.
Sure. Well, we have 99 who was a Bad Batch. He was part of a Bad Batch, right? He's already dead, though. That old guy, remember the old hunchback?
Yeah.
They called him, they said he was part of a Bad Batch. I'm pretty sure they used those words. So maybe those will come into prevalence later in the series. I don't know. But all these in addition to that, we've got like 4 different live action shows coming. And I mean, if they're going to be that willy-nilly with what they're willing to do a live action TV series on, I think we might have a shot, guys.
Yeah.
So we need to do a pitch episode for it.
Especially since it seems like at least, rumors, who knows, but rumors are that a lot of these are setting the stage to maybe say, 7, 8, and 9 were in an alternative universe. They didn't really happen in the main storyline.
Nah, they won't do that.
They better not.
They won't do that. I can't see them doing that. Would disappoint me.
I know.
Unless it involves
I'm just delivering news,
dimensions in the Avengers. If it involves alternate dimensions in an Avengers crossover, I might be okay with it.
Right. It'll start with Doctor
because then we can collect royalties.
That's right.
Being like, there's another possibility. And then it'll back up and start over.
There were actually 2 scenarios.
Just didn't want to talk about the other one.
Right, because it was really confusing.
Right.
I mean, I hope they don't do anything like
and who are the X-Men?
Right. Like, I don't know if I want to introduce all these characters into our canon here. That just sounds a little bit hectic. Might upset the reality that I'm trying to protect.
Right.
In the long run, So,
what if they make like a 7-2 where Luke Skywalker wakes up and is like, oh, wow, that would have been an awful dream.
Dream.
Come on, Ben, let's go.
Hey, Han, you're still here. And Harrison Ford's like, I thought you killed me off already. Please, why am I still doing this?
He didn't even agree to it. He just they just found him in a restaurant and like filmed him. They're like, no, it's legal because we weren't, you were in a public place, so like stick a green screen behind him when he didn't see it. Well, I don't even know what we're talking about anymore.
No,
John, what's new in life? It's been like months since we've recorded.
Yeah, it's been a while. At this point. It has. I don't know. I'm sure there's a lot new. I think it's been 5 weeks, 6 weeks?
Yeah, something
last time we recorded.
Something like that. It's been a bit.
So I did, I guess today, one thing that's new, kind of got me pumped up a little. I'm being recertified as a interrogator for my work position, and I did a successful interrogation today. So
cool. A real one?
A real one. Yep. Successful real one.
Ooh.
Lots of
Can
lots
you give
of
us?
tears,
You probably can't give us any of the details.
I can. It involved stealing. I was not stealing.
Right.
The person I was interrogating had been stealing, and
although you are a Sith, so I wouldn't put it past you.
That's right. There was a lot of emotion in the room, and it was it's odd because I was interrogating somebody that's like older than my parents. And have them crying and telling me all these really detailed details about their life that I didn't want to know because it wasn't part of what I'm after, but I got to act interested and
sure.
And so that's what's on my mind. It was a pretty exciting one. It went really well. So
cool. Very cool. Drew, what's new?
So on a much lighter note, tonight Amy and I played Overcooked, and that was a blast.
Ooh, I've heard so many good things about that.
And not gonna lie, I had low expectations going into this because I was like, this just looks like a mobile game, basically, that they just put, and it might even be mobile. I don't know. But we played it on the Switch, and she really got into it and had a blast with it. And I don't know if you ever watch cooking shows, Gordon Ramsay, any of those sorts of stuff, you find yourself communicating by screaming because you're like, I need the onions. Why aren't you giving me the onions? And it sounds so, I heard people, I've seen a few videos of people doing it. I was like, this seems silly. Why are they getting so into it? But it's one of those things where it really grabs you, and it surprised me how much we actually got into it and had fun with it. So we had a good time with that tonight. Very cool.
Yeah, that's a very, very well loved game. Are you and Amy still getting along at the end of it?
Yeah,
I've heard it can be pretty contentious and can really push a relationship to its limit.
Yeah, well, that was a board game a few weeks ago. I think I told you about that, but when we were playing the Murder House on a Hill, board game,
right. Mm-hmm.
And she's she's like, why did you have to kill the person? I was like, honey, it's a game. It's a game. The script says I do this, so it's okay.
You were like murdering a child or something? Is that what it was?
No. That's what she made up in her own mind to feed into the sympathy factor. It just said I buried alive one of their friends. They had like so many turns until like the person died, and in which case I was the bad guy, so I would win, but they were trying to find them, and so if they found them, then they would win.
Yeah,
but
sure.
She's like, it could be an old person or a child. It's like, it says that nowhere in the script. Where are you getting this from?
That's fun. Well, you guys already know, so it's not an update for you. But my whole family caught COVID, got over it. And then we went up to Tennessee and had our family get together. And one of the things that I was doing, we did that late. Santa Claus was delayed as well. And so that's part of why the podcast hasn't been recorded as well, I guess. Just we've been really busy with the holidays. And obviously John's been going through a lot of transitions and all the traveling we've been doing and everything. It's just made it difficult for us. So hopefully we can get some normalcy going back here again, going forward. I'm not promising anything, but one of the things that I have been doing for the past few months through all of that is trying to get online and secure a PlayStation 5. And this morning I got a tweet from Wario64, who's sort of an infamous restock updater. And I follow a few different people on Twitter, but his is almost always the first one to pop through. He said, PS5s are on Amazon. I immediately clicked the link, hit checkout, and my purchase was confirmed. So this Saturday, I should have a PlayStation 5 finally after 2 months of trying to get one. So that's kind of exciting. All right, let's talk about these episodes. Again, it's been a really long time since any of us have seen these. Over a month, I think, for all three of us. So we might be a little shaky on some of the details. Some of my notes that I'm reading that I took while I was watching, I don't even remember what they're about. We did all do, well, at least a couple of us needed plot refreshers, and so we went and did some plot refreshing. And I'm going to go over the plot real quick here, and then we can talk about some of the deets from there. So as this arc begins, 4 episodes long, as this arc begins, a sniper is attacking the Jedi, Anakin, Ahsoka, and Obi-Wan, and he successfully kills Obi-Wan Kenobi, who gets shot by a sniper blast and falls to his death. They even have a funeral for him, and Anakin is just so furious, and so you're sitting there like, what? Obi-Wan died? You know he didn't, but it doesn't make sense that he didn't, because they just buried him, right? And Anakin obviously believes it. Well, psych, Obi-Wan actually is the person who hired the assassin to assassinate him, and he captures and disguises himself as Hardeen in order to find out information about a plot to kill Palpatine. So Anakin and Ahsoka, still unbeknownst to the actual happenings here, they capture Obi-Wan, who they think is Hardeen, and send him to prison. And in prison, Obi-Wan is trying to figure out who may be involved and what the details are on this assassination plot against the Emperor. Morali Eval, I think is how you say it. Morali Eval. I'll probably just refer to him as Eval going forward. But he is the suspect that Obi-Wan's trying to get information from. But when he gets into prison, he finds out that he's teamed up with Cad Bane to escape. And Cad Bane doesn't trust Hardeen, Obi-Wan. And so Cad Bane doesn't want to involve him. What he actually does instead is gets Boba Fett, who happens to be in prison with them, the little kid, Boba Fett, to attack Obi-Wan to cause a riot so that they can slip off and escape, so that Bane and Eval can slip off and escape. And Obi-Wan kind of figures out what's going on, and then he helps them escape and ends up basically being with them out of prison, now having earned Eval's trust. So Obi-Wan crash lands the plane in the next episode onto this planet. They go into town. Obi-Wan goes after a ship, and Bane and Eval go after weapons. And in the meantime, Ahsoka and Anakin are pursuing these assassins, or these prison escapees, actually defiantly, because Mace Windu has actually asked Palpatine to leave it be and to back off. But Palpatine basically influences Anakin to pursue it. This is actually the whole underlying plot, is that Palpatine ends up being behind all of this, and this is part of him trying to get Anakin in a position where he's going to really be tested and have his anger tested. So when they catch up to the crew of criminals plus Obi-Wan / Hardeen, they get into a fight, and during that fight, Obi-Wan ends up telling Anakin the truth. He finds an opportunity to tell him what's going on, and Anakin is obviously shocked, probably very relieved to find out that his master is still alive, but also very confused as to what exactly is going on here, and pretty upset. Well, Bane ends up actually almost killing Anakin, but Ahsoka ends up stepping in and saving him, and then they book it. Not Ahsoka and Anakin, but the others leave. Ahsoka with Anakin unconscious. Well, Anakin wakes up and tells Ahsoka what's going on, and then we leave them for a while. In the next episode, we have Dooku, who is actually putting several different bounty hunter types through a test to find out who is going to be allowed to be involved in the plot to not assassinate, I don't think, but to capture Palpatine. Okay. And so there's this great big box that Eval has constructed that has all these tests and life or death tests. And Dooku basically says, if you survive, you're going to be involved in the assassination plot. Well, without going into detail onto what all of these are, because that would just take too much time, we can expand on that later if we want to. But Obi-Wan basically leads everybody to victory in each stage of it. Really impresses Cad Bane, but makes Eval look really bad because, Dooku's intention was that a lot of these guys die in this box under these tests, and then only a few survive to go and be involved in this plot. So he's pretty disappointed in Eval. And then when Eval tries to basically, mess things up to where Obi-Wan / Hardeen, again, it's not Obi-Wan, it's Hardeen, or it is Obi-Wan, but he looks like Hardeen. He tries to make it to where Hardeen's going to die. Bane actually, having in this box, had his respect earned by Hardeen / Obi-Wan, jumps in and saves him from death. So Dooku's impressed, and he says, all right, well, to as sort of a final test, go ahead and kill Eval for disappointing me. He tells Hardeen to do that. And Obi-Wan obviously won't, because he's a Jedi, and he doesn't just kill people in cold blood. Dooku's pretty disappointed in him, and so instead of having Obi-Wan lead, even though he has exhibited great leadership skills in this box, he puts Bane in charge. So final episode, here's the plot. They're going to capture the Emperor. I think it's capture, right? I don't think they're trying to assassinate him. Yeah, it's definitely capture. Dooku actually doesn't really trust Hardeen. He's started to get skeptical of him and thinks something may be up. And so he puts a listening device in with him. And then Obi-Wan actually is put into a sniper role, having demonstrated great sniper skills inside the box. And while he is observing everything that's going on, he is warning the Jedi about each stage of the plot to capture Palpatine. But Dooku's listening the whole time. So they do thwart the plot, but when they show up to the rendezvous point where Dooku was supposed to meet them, Dooku's not there because he is able to listen in and figure out what's going on. Bane's pretty ticked. And he fights with Hardeen / Obi-Wan for a while, but Obi-Wan is actually able to best him. And I think Bane just escapes here, if I remember. I don't remember if he gets captured or if he escapes at the end of this. But what Dooku has gone and done is gotten together with Palpatine and planned an ambush against Anakin. And so there's this whole battle at the end. And I don't remember all the exact details on how it takes place, but there ends up being a face-off between Anakin and Dooku, where Anakin just about beats Dooku, but then Dooku Force Lightning shocks him at the end and basically wins. All the while, Palpatine is just watching, enjoying himself as these two battle it out. Obi-Wan steps in at the last minute, helps to fight off Dooku, and then Palpatine says something about how great it would be, or excuse me, how terrible it would be if the Jedi were no more, which is an obvious allusion to his true intent here behind all of this. So, all right, it was a very complicated arc, kind of hard to summarize. So I hope that wasn't too long-winded. But what are y'all's initial impressions?
I'm glad they took the time to do it in 4 episodes. I really am, because watching it, looking at, the notes, hearing you summarize it, it's a really good story, I think. Honestly, I enjoyed it. Initial impressions, I enjoyed it. And in the past, it seems like they've rushed some stories and others they have drug out unnecessarily. But this one I honestly thought was paced really well. Like each episode of the arc had a very distinctive purpose for why it was there, and it played into the larger picture of setting the stage really for that last episode. They did great things building up characters. In the jail, that was a prime example. I loved it. You already mentioned seeing Boba Fett, but you also got to see the shark people again, which we haven't seen since Waterworld, and it gave me sweats to see him. Oh no, not this again, please no. But he just got to spin.
We got the monocle hut in these episodes.
Yeah.
Yep.
At least they're owning it.
Cool.
I respect that they're owning it. I think.
So I liked the whole progression and frustration of Anakin being displayed. Like, and we see that a lot in the Clone Wars, and it's almost like, you know, no wonder he went to the dark side eventually. Like, they didn't trust him enough to tell him that his master and best friend had not really been killed.
Right.
All the while, the person that's kind of comforting him is, of course, the Emperor, right?
Yeah.
And it just strengthens their relationship and almost distances him more with the Jedi as a whole. That, you know, it's, how could you not let me in on this plot? Like, that's my best friend. And there's a reason. We know the reason. They didn't want him messing it up. But even that, it's kind of like, you know, like, you thought I would mess it up? Like, so you just let me think my friend was dead. And we see Anakin kind of easing towards that dark side in these episodes, and kind of, by the way, he's kind of going rogue to go after him, go after who he thinks killed Obi-Wan, even though it was just Obi-Wan in disguise. So I did like that. I like that theme showing up in Clone Wars.
Yeah, and I don't think it was that they didn't trust him. It was that, at least, and a little weird, but it was like they wanted it to be believable. They needed it to be believable. And the only way to make it believable was for Anakin to react authentically.
Right. And they must
as if
have
Hardeen
watched...
would somehow be able to see right through him.
Well, so they must have seen the prequels and known that he was just not that great of an actor.
Right. Yeah.
And they're like, hey, we got to make this real.
Sure. Hey, guys, my son is in the hall crying. So let me take a second and go check on him. So
okay,
I'll be right back. I'm going to try to make a sound so I can see where we are when I edit it. Hopefully, I'll see a wave and be able to identify where this point is.
So, John, you had a good Christmas, but it was busy. But are y'all all finally moved in?
Yeah, we're moved in. We're just we're redoing every room in the house and everything outside and inside. It's going to be a project. It's normal, but you know how that is.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So, and I've got a very interesting HVAC system here that's given me a lot of trouble. It's called a Florida heat pump, and so it pumps water out. I'm on a well here, so it pumps water out of my well and uses it to heat or cool the house, and then puts the extra water into a 50-gallon drum that's buried in my yard. That is, once it gets to a certain level, a sump pump pumps it into my pond that I have on my property. Very, very weird system.
Oh.
And the sump pump died, and it flooded my basement.
Oh.
And then so I diverted that water to just run out, and so it's kind of flooding my yard a little bit, but it's okay. I'm on enough land where that doesn't bother me too much. But with that water not going into the pond is now about 6 inches lower, and I think will dry up until if I don't get that system figured out. So it's pretty exciting.
Do you have any fish in there or anything?
Yeah. There's the kids have caught fish out there. So. Oh, and the neighbors say that their kids have caught some pretty good sized catfish in it. So I want to get it fixed. And I like having a pond.
Well, I'd ask those neighbors, be like, you better return those catfish then, or at least pay me for it.
Yeah. It was before we owned the house. So.
Like, I'll let it slide this time, but.
Yeah. All right.
And we're back. I might just leave it in.
Yeah.
Did you talk about anything that you wouldn't want our listeners to know about?
We talked about my HVAC system that feeds my pond.
Ooh, that sounds very interesting.
It is. It's pretty cool. I'm just
okay.
All right.
Smarter every day. You learn something. So
yeah,
that's a good YouTube channel too. But I'm not promoting it because they're not paying us. So
Yeah, so I think that these episodes were definitely about centered around Palpatine, the Jedi failing Anakin, and Palpatine exploiting that fact. Yep. Obviously, Palpatine's behind everything that happens in all these episodes, pretty much. He's behind the plot to capture him. He's behind the confrontation between Anakin and Obi-Wan. Ultimately, it's sort of a mini Palpatine did it all, sort of a mini look at really what happens in the entirety of the movie franchise, right? Because Palpatine is the Phantom Menace in Episode 1, right? And he's the ultimate bad guy at the end of Episode 6, and then he's not when we get to 9 because he was just a clone in Episode 6, but he's behind the clone, so that's
yeah.
Anyway, he's behind it all is the point, and Palpatine is the actual baddest baddie through all of the 9 films. And so this is just sort of a mini look at, okay, Palpatine's really behind all of this stuff that's going on from beginning to end, because he knows everything on both sides.
So the box.
Yeah.
At first I was like, stupid.
Yeah.
This is dumb. But then I kind of enjoyed it.
Okay.
I thought the theme of it was kind of dumb, but then I was like, this is like a Saw mixed with a video game that Cliff would probably really like. So
there's a movie called The Cube that Wikipedia says this is inspired by. And really? I don't know if it's true or not, but
have you seen The Cube?
I looked at a little bit of that movie. No, but I saw a YouTube video that was about, I think, 2 or 3 hours long that I watched a little bit of, actually, that was like explaining the movie. I think the YouTube video is probably longer than the movie.
Yeah, I would bet.
And I think it was called How to Solve the Cube or something like that.
So The Cube was one of the first like scary movies that I ever saw. That I saw over at a friend's house. Because I knew I probably wouldn't be allowed to watch it.
Of course not.
And so I was all like, The Cube, because it was my first, first.
And it is sort of Saw-like, it's like they're in this big cube and they're all getting just murdered. And we don't know who's murdering them or why. And
I watched it recently in 2020 with my wife, and she hated it, absolutely hated it. Thought it was the stupidest movie she's ever seen.
Yeah. Well, I watched little clips in it.
I think
she's probably right. Yeah.
In your mind, did it hold up, John? Or is it like?
Well, no, it didn't.
I think the Star Wars version is better.
There is a Cube 2, Return to the Cube or something.
Yeah. I think I heard about that.
So maybe there'll be a Return to the Box.
Maybe
movie
in the Clone Wars. Maybe in the new Bad Batch series that's coming out.
But they do have to go from like cubed box, like box to box. And they have to figure out the thing that doesn't get one of them killed.
Right.
And it's a kind of a psychological thing that they end up going through. And I want to say one person, maybe I don't remember, but
I think one person lives. And it's not a spoiler. Don't see this movie. It's not very
I would
good.
recommend it. So
just get spoiled on it, and you don't have to. But one person lives, and this analysis video, I remember being like, "This is crazy. How could it be this long?" But I was like, "Solving the cube. That sounds interesting to me. Like he solved it." So I skipped to the end of the video, and he's basically like, "This is so dumb, and for all these reasons, this plot is convoluted and doesn't make any sense." So he like ran through all the different scenarios and possibilities, and his conclusion at the end of it was, that was stupid and it didn't make any sense.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, it acts like it makes sense, but then when you really look at it, it makes sense.
It was one of those movies where like I was like, I liked it until you get to the end, and then you're like, oh, what a waste of time.
Yeah. It's like you expect
I was really hoping
and it's just dumb.
Yeah. Like, oh, the cube. It's a cube. Like
reminds me, we saw this movie called Primer. Drew, I've told you about this before.
Yeah, I watched it. Yeah.
Did you watch it? I don't remember.
Yeah.
Oh, did we talk about that? Did I just forget?
We did, because I said it made no sense, and you said you haven't watched it enough yet.
Oh yeah. I do remember talking about it now. So it doesn't make any sense. It's so confusing. I actually think it does make sense, but it is the most confusing movie I've ever seen. And it's awesome. I really like it. And when I was in college, it was the perfect thing we watched it several times and we're like trying to figure it out and talking about different things and looking for little clues and things. And you can go on the internet and people have put it all together and it's nuts. It's just, there's no way to figure it out without, watching it 100 times and really, really taking detailed notes. Primer. The first time we watched it, the movie ended, and this fella who had, I think it was Benjamin Apple, I think was there. And then I won't say the other guy's name, but Ben said, as soon as that movie ended and the credits rolled, when we stood up to leave, he said, if anybody says they understood that movie, they're lying. And the other guy who we were with said, what? You guys didn't understand it? It's time travel. And it was obviously time travel. Like, that's what the movie's about, was time travel. But it's like, that's not what we mean.
But a little more complicated than that.
Right. Like we're just saying it's convoluted, but he's like, it's time travel. It makes perfect sense.
Back to the Future is A to B. It makes a lot of sense. This was like spaghetti mess.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
So
all right, once again,
I have about
go ahead.
About this box thing, because I couldn't figure it out. Moralo Eval is so stinking upset that Obi-Wan is solving this, but people are dying along the way. And Dooku keeps on saying, we need 5 people. We need 5 people. So they're whittling it down. I mean, he's winning, but they still need 5 people at the end. So I'm like, this seems a little... I couldn't figure out why he was so mad Kenobi was actually beating the levels, because I'm like, you still need 5 people to do this mission. And you're going to be... They left with 5. So I was like, did I miss something there? Or do you think he was just upset that the same person kept beating the missions? Was that it?
Well, like one of them, none of them died on, right? I think it was that first mission, nobody died because Obi-Wan got him out of it. And then the second mission, only like one person died. And like, I don't think they just weren't dying very much. I think he just wanted a few from this group. And there ended up being a whole lot more surviving than he anticipated. So he ended up utilizing them all whenever they got to the end of it. But how many, let's see, there were 5 needed. And then how many total, how many ended up dying? Did all but 5 die?
Yeah.
Yes, I guess you're right. It does kind of, the numbers do kind of work out. Well, like, Dooku's a jerk. I think that's the bottom line. Dooku's just evil. I guess that's it.
And then at the very last episode, this Moralo Eval, if I have to say, he was a little annoying to me, just because at the very end, he kept on saying, please don't hurt Moralo Eval. Please don't hurt Moralo. I was like, why do you keep referring to yourself in the third person?
Yeah.
But
so I have some questions. This is going to be fun, I think. I took these notes here while I was watching these episodes 5 or 6 weeks ago. And there's a few things that I have no idea what I'm referring to. So I'm going to see if you guys can help me. Bartender snakes. That was a note. And what I do is I write down just a little phrase to trigger something like, oh, I want to say something about that. Bartender snakes. Nothing.
Bartender. So the only thing I have about the bar was something I just thought was like a really cheesy line. Oh,
okay. What was it?
And that was one of the people in the bar when they were in there said, one of the females said, "Ooh, I'd like to check his midichlorian count." And honestly, that's all the notes I have from this entire arc. I was like, what? Who says that?
All right, help me out with this one. Prison food.
I remember he didn't like it. It was like gross looking.
All right, I don't know. We didn't mention it. Bosk was in there too with Boba, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. Stun circles. I'm assuming. Yeah, I don't know. Stun circles? Do y'all know what stun circles might refer to? This is episode 1.
Did they?
Maybe they were stunning the prisoners.
Did they stun?
Was it maybe the stun circles like from episode 4?
Yeah.
Where it goes.
Yeah. I think they stunned the real guy.
Oh, okay.
The real assassin.
Because we're not in prison yet. Yeah.
Yep, they stunned the real assassin, didn't they?
They must have used the same stun gun that was used against Leia.
Yeah,
in episode 4. I bet that's why I wrote it too. So,
well, I mean, isn't that a setting? Like, just switch from?
Yeah, you just except for stun.
Yeah.
And then I wrote down Obi-Wan let guards die.
Yeah.
Which I don't remember, but I guess it happened.
So, remember how Cad Bane? I think that was the scene you're talking about where Cad Bane punched Obi-Wan because Obi-Wan, Cad Bane like killed the other guards, but Obi-Wan let the one guard lived, and then
his blaster jammed.
Yeah, his blaster jammed. And so then Cad Bane like slapped him. He's like, "That's for hesitating."
Okay. All right. So basically, he didn't necessarily kill the guards, but he didn't there, and he could have saved them.
Yeah.
Right.
And Cad Bane's immediately suspicious after that, and
which I'll tell you, a blaster jamming kind of bothers me.
Have we ever had that anywhere else in Star Wars? Anything like that?
Oh, my blaster jams. That's kind of a bullet thing. Like, because the shell casing doesn't eject, or but no, it's jammed. Right. Yeah. So,
all right.
Okay. One thing I will just
maybe he was eating a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, and he got some jam in there.
Jam.
No. We are not telling jokes anymore, remember?
Is that a Spaceballs reference?
No.
He jammed the radar. It's the one thing I like, when you say that, John, that reminds me about this arc, how there's a lot of suspicion, cloak and dagger stuff going on, because really Obi-Wan has to first prove that he's loyal to Marala Val. And then it goes on to be into Cad Bane, and Cad Bane's suspicious. And then Dooku, and Dooku's suspicious. I mean, and so it's just a lot of going back and forth with the ties and trying to trust in the undercover aspect of it. And that was really something that I did like about this, because they built it up well. And that's one thing that I just really...
All right. Here's the next note. This is on the next episode. Revenge force choking Palp. I'm assuming Palp is probably Palpatine. Was there some force choking that happened? Maybe when Anakin was pursuing, did Anakin do some force choking in this episode?
Yes.
That's what I think probably happened from that note, but I don't remember it explicitly. So
when he was looking for Obi-Wan, when he was trying to get revenge on the guy for killing Obi-Wan, I feel like he choked somebody in the bar.
Oh, okay. All right.
But I don't know what Palp has to do with that.
Palp, yeah, I'm not sure. Well, either way, Anakin doing force choking is just freaking awesome, because that's Darth Vader's thing,
Right.
That's perfect,
And I don't know if this works into it, but I know in that episode, because I have a note here, that's when Palpatine, one of the quotes that he made to Anakin is, "Anakin, perhaps they don't trust you."
Oh,
and
yeah.
Just, how he's feeding into that.
Sure. And I know what this is referring to, but I haven't mentioned anything about it. Ahsoka protecting Anakin with her double lightsaber pose was just awesome. I just love that part. Mm-hmm. I love the bond that's been built between Ahsoka and Anakin at this point in the series. And I love seeing her be like, "No, you back off. I will take you out." And her double lightsaber is just awesome. It's just, she's the best double lightsaber wielder that we've ever seen, I think. Okay, I wrote Yoda wrong butt. ... This is the next episode 3. This is the one with the cube. I assume this is before the cube. Does Yoda maybe admit that he's wrong?
Yeah.
But I don't know what butt's about.
To Anakin, or to maybe not about not telling Anakin.
Okay.
He's like, "I see now that was not right," or whatever.
Okay.
Right.
I'm not sure what the butt is for. I said butt ... So I must have had a thought associated with that. I just don't remember what it is. Mega Man. Just wrote the word Mega Man. Now, Mega Man, I'm thinking maybe the hand blaster. Was there somebody with a blaster for an arm or something? I don't know. We can skip that one. False skill associated with the cube. That's probably just too nuanced. Dooku head.
Is
all right. And final episode. Now, this is not an unknown note. I actually know what this is about, and I think this is pretty cool. Just something I don't think about a lot, and that is that Palpatine is from Naboo, and I never think of him as a Nabooan, or a Nabooan, but he is. That's who he is. He's just a guy from Naboo. I think of Naboo as like this place, this just random place that's introduced in the in Episode 1, but really, it's so significant because it is the home of, it's the origin homeland of the greatest Sith ever to live, So I just think that's pretty cool. And that just showed what?
You talking about Jar?
It just showed him in his home turf as his home turf. And it's not a way I think about Palpatine a lot. And so it made that association and made Naboo more significant in my mind because of that. Okay, here's one. Here's the one I was the most curious about. This is actually the main reason why I did the whole thing here. Because I want to know what I was thinking here. I don't remember it at all. 847 years ago is what I wrote down. 847 years ago.
Wasn't that when Naboo joined the Galactic Senate? Like 847 years ago, Naboo joined.
I think you're right. Is that what they were celebrating, maybe? Is it the 847th anniversary celebration?
That seems too random, but I don't remember.
I think that's probably it. But I thought that was interesting for some reason and wrote it down. 847 years ago. I don't know. Write in and tell us. What was I thinking?
Somebody knows.
That's right. That's pretty much it. That's pretty much all I've got. All right.
Okay, I have one, and I'm curious.
Go ahead.
Sure. In Episode 2, because I have one of these and I'm going through my notes. All I have is he's going to kill a dude with a toothpick. That sounds like an awesome scene, but I cannot for the life of me remember the context of that.
Yeah. There was something mentioned in one of the Wikipedia. I was not reading through them in great detail. I was kind of just scanning through. But something like that does happen, where somebody's going to use a toothpick, or maybe even does use a toothpick to almost kill somebody else.
It seems like a Cad Bane kind of thing.
That seems like a Cad Bane kind of thing, definitely. John, how much Cad Bane exposure do you have? One of the arcs that you skipped had Cad Bane in it.
We've seen him
before? We have?
Yeah.
Okay. I just don't remember all of it. But
I don't know how much of a fan I am.
Really? I like him.
I used to. But
What, Drew?
Was it on the swamp planet, like when they first landed and they went to that store to buy some supplies, and he was threatening the owner?
Yeah, the toothpick, you mean?
So the swamp planet is the planet the Hutts are from.
Is it? Oh, okay. That's why we saw Monocle Hut there, I guess.
In doing my review, I found that. I don't think it was actually covered.
Gotcha.
What is it? Nalhutta?
Yeah, that sounds
It's just a different part of the planet. And that's, it was such a lawless area. So
we saw some pig guards there too. Did y'all remember that?
Yeah.
And so I guess, I'd never associated pig guards with Hutts, except that they happened to be in Jabba's palace, but so do a whole lot of other things. I kind of assumed pig guards were a Tatooine thing, but it sounds like they are just sort of Hutt slaves.
Yeah.
So
let me ask y'all this too. Do you think in all of this, because at the very end of the last episode, Dooku makes a comment as he's like flying away. He's lost. The Jedi have Palpatine. He's leaving. He's retreating. And he says, he's talking to Obi-Wan. He's like, "You're a worthy adversary, but I can't say the same about your apprentice." So we know that, obviously he knows Palpatine, who he really is, Dooku. And so he's fighting Anakin. Do you think Palpatine is cognizant at this point that do you think Dooku is cognizant that Palpatine might be secretly trying to get a feel for if Anakin is going to be his replacement or not at this point?
So I've always thought that Dooku probably knew they needed him, but in the movie, Anakin kills Dooku. cuts his head off. And you see that look of shock on his face when Palpatine says, kill him. Dooku's like, what? And then he chops his head off. So I kind of feel like Dooku's probably always kind of pulled the strings with Palpatine's always kind of pulled the strings with Dooku on, hey, we need this guy. I don't know that he suspected that to happen.
Yeah. I mean, one thing that I do think is important to keep in mind in all of that is that Dooku is really just being used this whole time.
Yeah.
Palpatine has no intention of him actually being his apprentice. He's the one who, at least one of the comics I've heard reveal, so spoiler, I guess, that in the new canon, because I know this was part of the Legends stuff before, at least something like it was part of the Legends stuff, but it's been confirmed in the new canon in one of the comics that Palpatine used the Force to create Anakin inside of his mother's womb. And so technically Palpatine is like sort of like Anakin's dad.
Yeah.
Like he has intended to get Anakin in on this the whole time from the very beginning. So you can kind of follow that tread line and know he's not important to Palpatine. Palpatine has never cared about him. Not that Palpatine ever cares about anybody. He didn't care about Anakin. I don't even know if he cares about himself. He just cares about power. But I guess, is that what Palpatine's motivation is? Does he just want to become super powerful?
Yeah, I think so.
And that's sort of what we see at the end of episode 9, right? It's just like, all right, I've reached this ultimate. Now you slay me and we'll be even more powerful together. So I think it's just sort of that wanting to roll forward the Sith power generation after generation.
Well, and he wanted to be slayed so that he could
inhabit her.
A new body. Which would make him
immortality, basically.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Kind of a Voldemort thing going on there. So anyway, let's rank it.
All right.
I'll go first. I don't think I go first very much. 8 out of 10. I don't remember it that well, so I'm not sure if I can justify it. But I remember liking it and talking about it. It seems like there's a lot of cool things here and there. I don't remember a lot of negative. Maybe a few things that are like, that's not totally convincing. But overall, I think it was definitely a high point in season 4.
So I'm gonna go with. Oh, go ahead.
I'm kind of the same as you. You know, it's been so long since I've watched it that I'm pretty certain I'm somewhere between like a 3 and a 9. I was gonna say 7 for tonight's purposes. Just because I do like the theme of Anakin being frustrated, Anakin using powers he probably shouldn't be using, acting the way he shouldn't, in Palpatine there pulling the strings the whole time.
Right.
And I'm going to go with the 9 actually, because I loved this arc. I really
cool.
did.
Yeah.
It was so much fun to me, and just talking about it again, I might actually go back and watch it again.
Awesome.
There were some great fight scenes. I know we touched on it a little bit, but there were 3 or 4 that were really cool. Anakin and Dooku, that was a really good fight scene. The box, just some of the fight scenes in there with Marala Val, and I really liked a lot of it and how it added a lot to the story of Anakin, why more reasons why he turned to the dark side, and his mindset. So I really enjoyed a lot of it.
Cool. We have an email.
Oh,
December 14th. It's been a long time since we've recorded. Yeah. This is back from mid-December. It's from Caleb. Caleb has I know he's one of our reviews. I think has he written in before? Yes, he has written in before. I think. Trying to remember. Drew, do you remember if Caleb's written in before?
I believe Caleb. He has.
Okay. I'm looking through. Yeah. Okay. He did write in before. So Caleb writes, and this is a pretty quick email. He says, when I told you that season 4 was when the series got good, I'll tell you that I think I completely erased the first 6 episodes from my memory. He said, I just rewatched these episodes to listen to the podcast, and I forgot these were even in season 4. The Umbara arc and after is what I remember from season 4.
Fair enough.
Caleb covering up his reputation.
Right
there.
He's got
and
a
I think
reputation.
season 4 is looking up. We have one more week of season 4 episodes, and then we're going to have a decision to make. And Drew, I'll let you say what the next episodes are in 1 second, but I want to solicit some opinions about where we go from here. Now, up to this point, we've been just watching chronologically. But it seems like at this point, the series has got its stride. And sometimes things are intentionally left out of chronological order. I don't think that was true in like seasons 1, 2, and 3 necessarily. But I feel like season 4 has been pretty cohesive the whole way through, chronological order. And then for some reason, randomly, we get episode 501 that's like 13 episodes out of order. I have no idea why. But what I want to know is if somebody wants to write in, you'll have at least 1 week to do it. Assuming I post this episode, not 3 weeks later. But should we just continue to watch in order from this point, or should we stick to our arc by arc chronological order thing that we're doing? I'm leaning towards sticking with a chronological order, and obviously, if y'all have an opinion, I want to know that. But I just wonder if some of the out of orderness from this point on could potentially be intentional. So write in and let me know what you think if you want to express an opinion there. Do you guys have any opinion about that?
No, I don't.
No. Okay. All right, well, we'll figure it out. We'll probably just stick to the order that we've been doing unless there's a compelling reason not to. But I just wanted to throw that out there. So, all right, Drew, what do we got?
All right, so for next week or the next time we record, we are going to be talking about the Return arc. That's episodes 419 through 422. That would be Massacre, then Bounty, Brothers, and Revenge.
Brothers. It's good. Good for our podcast.
Star Wars Brothers.
All right. Thanks for listening.